Yeah.
Michael, you always oversell me, right? You got to learn this tactic: undersell and over deliver. That's what my specialty is. So I'm Brian Jackson. I'm been Mike's colleague at Infotech for a couple of years. I'm lucky enough to that I worked in the time before the pandemic when I got to go into the building and be in the elevator with him, where we would have excellent conversations. And it's amazing what Michael can fit into just a short elevator ride. You just get a little bit of like a information packed sort of couple of minutes and a real experience every time you step on there. But yeah,
Yes.
about me, I was a journalist in the technology sector, covered technology for 10 years here in Toronto, and joined Infotech a couple of years ago now. It's almost 2 years. My anniversary is coming up in May. And at Infotech, I got to do a lot of the fun stuff, researching tech trends. I talk to CIOs all the time who are just starting in their companies. I have this first 100 days as CIO program. So I get to talk to people, new executives, as they're coming into their positions and help them learn about their companies, sort through the challenges of being a leader, all that good stuff.
Okay, he's gonna ask a question. You guys can pipe in. I'm gonna ask him a question. So I'm gonna be the first one to ask you a question. So this one is, what are some of your favorite products that came out this year?
Well, Mike, I gotta say, one of my favorite products that I've bought, like in the past year or like during this pandemic, I guess I'll say,
Yes.
is my new Xbox. Man, this thing is great. Like, I was sort of fell off playing video games because I had an Xbox. Like, I had the Xbox One, but this new one came out, and I sort of got into it because I'm just sitting at home all the time, right? You can't go out anymore, so I thought, let's try this, and I managed to buy one, even though they're extremely short supply. But it's amazing, man. The 4K graphics look so crisp, and I was sort of like reconnecting with video games too after a
Mm-hmm.
long time of not playing them. But they're amazing now. Like these open worlds you can explore. I'm playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm a Viking. I'm swinging axes. I'm sailing
Oh
a long
yeah.
ship across oceans and down a river, exploring the English countryside. And that's the cool part for me is in these games you can they often take place now in like real world settings. So it's like fictional game, but it's real world map. So you can, you can explore the streets of San Francisco, in Watch Dogs, and it's like I've been to that city many times, right? So it feels like familiar to me as I'm exploring it, and you're sort of wandering around in these video games are so realistic now. You feel like you're there, and it's got the same sort of atmosphere almost. So it's
It's
been
such
a,
big business though, right? Like
a
it's so
billion
many.
dollar business,
Oh my Lord, it's
multi-billion dollar
crazy.
business. Yeah. You're,
So I just want to ask you a personal question about
sure.
gaming. Okay, so well, I have two statements. The first one is this: why not Sony?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it. I've just never gone down the PlayStation path before. So I know the Microsoft products, right?
Hmm.
I've always, my brother has had the Xbox. I had the Xbox before. So part of it is the way they lock you in now is you buying all your games digitally, right? So I have games on the Xbox, like on my account with Microsoft, and if I go to a different video game system, well, I won't be able. If I go to Sony, I won't be able to access those, right? So when I bought this new Xbox, I was able to access all the video games that I've sort of collected over the years on Xbox. So that's one way they sort of lock you in. No, I'm not going to buy two video game systems. I'm not playing often enough that I need to. I can't justify that,
I
although it'd be
heard
a lot of fun. But
I heard
it's
something
a bit
about
too much.
Sony
Yeah.
that's weird. Okay, you ready?
Okay.
They're actually going to lose about $30 to $50 for every unit they sell.
That's not unusual. It's not unusual in the video
Yeah.
game business to take a loss. Like you use the hardware, the console, as sort of like a loss leader. And so you get people into your ecosystem because the money's made on selling the software, selling. And these days you're selling also subscriptions to these game services. So people are hooked in for a monthly fee to access like a library of games. And then there's this sales that you can make on the games individually, right? So that's where the money is, and you can't make that money if people don't own the hardware. So you sell it to them for as cheaply as possible.
So here's the thing, and people don't realize this, that with the gaming systems, they're addictive. They are incredibly addictive to the point where
Absolutely.
people will, that becomes their life, their social
Oh
life.
yeah,
Like I have
it
a
can happen.
neighbor and I love him, and if he watches the program, I'm not making fun of you, but I can hear him at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, "Mother, you know what?" and screaming, and he's like, "Sucker!" and and I'm like, what? A couple times I woke up and I was like, something wrong, and I realized he's just playing video games. He's letting off steam. The one, can I tell you what I love most about video games, more so than
Hmm.
anything in life? If you screw up, if you fail, nobody's watching, and you just get up again and try again and try again and try again until you do it, until you get to the next level.
Yeah,
And
or
there's no
until you
shame
run
in
out
it.
of lives and the game's
Yeah.
over. Right.
Yeah. You renew your life in some way. But
Yeah, I mean, video games are more generous than they used to be in that way. It used to be when you're playing Mario and you died on World
mhm,
8 level 2. That was it. You're out of lives, 0 lives. You're all the way. You got to start over. Go all the way back to the beginning. Run through all the levels again if you want to get back here. Now it's just unlimited. You can die anywhere. Be like, oh, it doesn't matter. I'll just load my save game from 2 minutes ago, and I'm right back where I started. Like I'm not losing any time. So it's more forgiving now. And I guess that can be good, right? Because you're not punishing people that are spending their time to progress in these games. But some people might say that the challenge has been lost.
well, the thing is, too, people don't realize the people that develop them, the programmers and that, they work night and day, and they can make big money, but it's an incredibly hard field on the brain. Like those guys go. And
Yeah,
like you said, they're so real now. Like I find even when I'm watching Laura play, I get in the story. I'm not even playing, and I'm like, look over there. It's
yeah.
behind the tree. Watch out.
Oh, the
It's like,
narrative experience is incredible. It's like you're in an interactive movie with these cutscenes that they program, and the amount of content and like acted content that they have in the games is amazing to me. I mean, I remember when I played Skyrim like years ago now. I think that game came out in 2013, and it blew me away how every character was voice acted in that game. And now
yeah,
that's par for the course. A new game comes out, you expect like individually acted characters. It's really rich and deep what you're getting in terms of like the content experience there.
yes. Here's the weird thing about life, okay? Things go in cycles. So when I was a kid, one of my favorite albums was Fleetwood Mac Rumors. And I had it on an 8 track. I had it on a cassette. I had it on a record. I had it on a CD. And this is what they're now doing with video games. We'll give you this bundle, 100 games or this, or if you sign up, you can
Right.
go back to your
Yeah.
childhood. And do you remember when we
The
had the
retro games
cartridges
bundles. Yeah. You can
and you
still
had to
get them. Put
and
them on
people
the
were
new system.
blowing on
Yeah.
them, you remember?
Oh, I had those days. Yeah, I had that Nintendo when I was a kid, and you would get the dusty old cartridge out after a while, and it wouldn't run, and it would have all these lines on the screen and
Yeah.
blockiness, and then that's what you had to do, and it always worked too. It was reliable. Just blow on the cartridge. Somehow everybody knew to do that just
Yeah.
intuitively. Like you needed to get the dust off the contacts there.
C.S. Murphy, I would love for you to come up. You and Brian are very similar in many ways, the way you're wired. I think you would have a lot in common. Not that Brian and I are buds. Him and I talk when we can, and It's fun. I miss our conversations. We used to talk every week just about nothing, right? And for hours sometimes. Have a couple beers. I'm not drinking right now. Did I tell you about that? No
Are you doing a
drinking.
dry February? Did you take
I've
up
done.
that challenge? I saw that going around.
I've done about 4 months of dry, and
Good for you. 4
I've
months is
lost
a long time.
I've lost 25 pounds, and I'm not
Yeah.
eating meat right now, and I'm doing the
No
juicing
meat,
thing.
no beer. Good. Wow.
Yeah,
You're living clean, Mike.
no dairy. Well,
What are
I
you
felt
eating? What's even left to consume?
vegetables, nuts.
Hmm.
Oh, and when I get ravenous, believe it or not, I eat carrots. I'll get a big carrot because I miss the
Oh yeah.
chewing. I miss the chewing
You
sensation.
need a good crunchy carrot. Okay.
Now
Wow.
we all know this is part of business, but the reason I'm going down this pathway is they make so much money from different styles of milk. Like it's incredible, and it's such
I have
a
three types of
racket.
milk in my fridge right now.
Do
A
you? What kind? Mm-hmm.
coconut milk, oat milk, and
Yeah.
dairy milk, cow milk.
Uh, I love oat milk. I like the one brand. I think it's Nature's Own or something. I could be wrong, but the name. But it's phenomenal. It tastes
Oh,
like
it's great.
dairy. It
It's my
really
favorite
does.
right now. I love whipping it up and you
Yeah,
get it nice and frothy, and you top your coffee in the morning with it. You feel like you're having a barista experience. It's lovely.
absolutely. The next thing I want to talk about, if it's okay with you, we're gonna do a little picture here for you, and I don't mean like a pitcher of beer, but we're gonna go down memory lane here for a second, okay? So this is a time when you would go into a record shop. They had these rooms, multiple rooms, and you could play records, and you could go in there and you would listen to them. And what's really scary is they had, honest to God, the what I would call the white versions and the black versions of records. And people hid, I know that's not appropriate, but that's the way it was. And back then, they sold millions and millions and millions of records by artists like Muddy Waters. Did you ever hear the story about Muddy Waters where Chess, one of the people from Chess was like, look, you have to sign this guy. And the chest owners were like, no, it makes no sense. It goes nowhere. It's crazy. It's kind of like my show, it's or Seinfeld. And they pressed the record. It sold over 1 million copies in 2 weeks. And you know what they said? You might be onto something. And we're in such changing times now. Everything is flowing. You were talking earlier about a format. Remember we were talking about in the green room, and you said they tried to do this format through another. Yeah, you can roll now.
When we were talking about formats, I mean, you were talking about the formats with the eight tracks and the cassette tapes, and when you're talking through those different technology formats, Mike, it made me realize that I never bought the eight tracks, right? And the first format for music that I ever bought was like a cassette tape. And I remember when you started talking about that, I was remembering what my first cassette tapes that I bought were when I was a kid. But I wonder what the first eight track you bought was. Do you remember?
I think it was the Jacksons, to be honest with you. Okay, so does anybody know
Right
what
on.
this? Does anybody know what this is?
Is that it?
No.
Oh,
Does
what do
anybody
you
know what
got
that
there?
is? Now look at
Is that a
how
mini disc?
that's a mini disc.
I used to use the mini disc to when I was in journalism school,
Yeah.
and it was the best way to record when we were doing our radio class. We would use mini discs to record the audio that we were getting out in the field, and it was a really good, high quality way to capture audio that you wanted for your radio broadcast.
So
So I
do you know
used to
why?
have a player. Yeah.
You know why that didn't work?
No, why?
They wouldn't sell the rights. Sony
Who
was
owned them?
stubborn.
Yeah,
They wouldn't
Sony.
sell the rights. They were
Okay.
crazy. Okay. Do you remember the VHS tape?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember Betamax
Mm-hmm.
by Sony? Sony refused to sell the rights to it. And what happened was it was slightly more money than the VHS, and the VHS took off. There's some other
Yeah.
reasons too, which I don't want to talk about
And
on.
it's funny, Sony keeps repeating that business model because remember when the Blu-ray came out? Was it
Yeah.
Sony that was trying to compete with that with its HD DVDs? Wasn't that the format that they tried to get going? It was
But
like a
how
competing version to Blu-rays for a while, and of course, that just went away. They didn't catch on either.
I think the reason I'm doing kind of a segue here. Okay. So HAPS, and as much as I love HAPS, and I really do, I think it's a wonderful format. But if it becomes large and it does very well, you'll see one of the large corps buy it. And the guys that have started it will become filthy rich, and I'll be very happy for them. But I think one of the things that I'd love to talk to you about is your brand. Like, no matter what format you're on, no matter what you're doing, you're always promoting your brand. And you know how much I love Twitter, right? Twitter, I think, is one of the most solid brands around. And you are the type of person that you have multiple skills. You love to write. Oh, you love to perform. We kind of glitched up there for a second. You know what's funny about Haps is it'll do it in the studio and then we'll play it back and it's perfect.
I see.
It's a
Okay.
little strange, but it's
It's
in
good to
beta.
know
in
that
beta.
it's smoothed out when it goes out live, and so even if we see a glitch, it might not be for everybody, right?
Right. Okay.
That's good.
So I have another picture.
I wish I could see a bigger screen. Like you're showing these pictures, and they're so tiny for me in my this little window that it gives me.
Yeah. See, and that's one of the things. And when you see it on the TV later, because it'll be on YouTube, you'll see it. 1 second here. Let's see if we can do this. Okay. All right. Do you recognize this? Do you recognize this lady? Anybody? Does anybody recognize this lady? That's Hillary.
Oh yeah, I see it now.
Yeah. Do you see that? Do you see that? Yeah. See?
Wow.
She was
that long hair throws you off.
Right. And how different would the world been in 2016 if she had won? Right? And how different would the world have been if we never ever decided to make MP3s? Like record stores, are doing well again because people miss the artwork. Right? They miss it having that art form. Like records sell better now than any other format in music.
The
Like
LPs,
that,
yeah. And
because
people like that sort of tactile experience of buying the record, right? And the record's got the grooves and the bumps on it, and you put it on the spinning table, and the needle goes on top of it. I mean, it's totally different from this sort of cold digital experience of music, right? It's this warm, tactile experience, and it gives you something to collect. It gives you a physical sort of item that you can put in a stack.
I don't know if you can
or on your wall.
See that any better, but right there, as far as the eye can see, you can see booths with little record players in them. So some of the record stores would have up to 30 or 40 booths where you could listen to the 45s. And I remember when Laura was little, back in the day, I showed her one of the first CDs. Right? I showed her a CD. I showed her how to work it. She loved it. It was easy. And then I later showed her a record, and she said, "How does that fit in the CD player, Dad?" Like she had no idea, and she was really dumbfounded. And she was like, "I don't get it. Like why can't we play it on there?" Yeah. So
I never had a record player myself either. See, I missed out on that whole experience. And sometimes it appeals to me like, hey, maybe I would like music more. I could start this vinyl collection. Maybe because now you just listen to everything on Spotify, right? That's how I listen to music now.
Yes.
But there's no connection to the artist and where did this come from? And, I'm not really consciously thinking about what experience am I choosing and why do I want to listen to this? And
Yeah.
With vinyl, it makes you think about what you're doing, and you're choosing very intentionally to what you're going to put on, and then you're sitting down to listen to that, and that's what you're doing. So it connects you more to the music, I think.
Well, the other thing too is if you have a record player, I know it sounds strange, but if you have a record player, it's vibrationally different. Like the needle actually
Yeah.
vibrates in the groove. There's
Hmm.
something about the experience. There's a warmth to it.
That's analog, baby.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. My daughter now has a cassette player, which I bought her, and she's been making mixtapes. And when I was a kid, I used
Oh,
to make,
nice.
but isn't that
So you're
ridiculous?
listening to the radio and hitting record. Oh, I love this song.
Oh,
Hit
I
hit
know.
the hit it.
Yeah. Oh, and you get mad because the announcer would be on going WKR, whatever.
Yeah, ruining it. I never had
Yeah.
the patience for that. I think I tried it a bit, but I could never get the timing right, and then
Yeah.
you got to position the tape perfectly, and you get silences in between the tracks, and it was really hard.
I loved it. I loved it. I spent too much time doing that. I should have read books while I was doing that. I think my life would be completely different. Um, so Walt, he says the Sony Walkman. Do you remember the Sony Walkman?
Yeah, yeah, of
That was a
course.
big deal to have that,
Oh yeah,
right? And I remember thinking, wow, I don't have to listen to something on a stereo. And for my dad back in the day, if you went way back, the transistor radio was a miracle, right? It's crazy. But if you think about the computing power you have in your cell phone now, right? Like the first Apollo missions, the onboard systems weren't
that's
even
right.
remotely as good as that.
Oh, not even close. Yeah, couldn't do even a fraction of the computation that you have in your pocket now.
So where do you think we're headed with technology? Because it just seems to be leaps and bounds. I cannot believe when I'm watching a video game. We did full circles like church. That's what they do in church. You know that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's amazing, right? I mean, we're in this sort of era of exponential growth and change, and
mhm.
people are really not very good at determining where is the future going when things are changing so quickly like that. We can understand linear change, like, hey, put a couple of dollars into my bank account yesterday. If I do the same thing again tomorrow, I'll have more money, and then over time, I'll have a lot of money. But what they're not good at understanding is what if I doubled the amount of money I put into that bank account, right? And then at the end of the month, you don't realize you're putting in millions of dollars, even if you start with a couple of pennies, right? So it's not very intuitive to people, but I think that is sort of the progression we're going to see with technology over the next few years, because so many different things are hitting their stride now with artificial intelligence and quantum computing. Digital, everything is going digital. Every business process is going digital. So people are just going to be amazed at the amount of change that cascades off of that. You and I, Michael, will be doing entirely. We might be meeting here and having conversation in 5 years, but we'll be doing completely different jobs. Or the
Yeah.
nature of our jobs will have changed at least, and I think that's the case for most people.
Well, I every show that I do, I always talk a little bit about HAPS because everybody here is part of the HAPS family.
Yeah.
So I've been now, I don't know if you know, because I haven't really told you the backstory, maybe a little bit, but so Randy W. Horton, which is a huge figure on social
Oh, you
media.
you were talking to me about Randy before.
Yeah,
He's from Saudi Arabia, right?
right. So he had said to me, Michael, you're the woo master. You need to get on HAPS. That you're going to find an audience there, but get on before Periscope shuts down. And I was like, okay, I can do that. So I got on. I didn't think much of it, and now I've been on this platform. I think for about 7 to 8 weeks, maybe 2 months, and I have
Yeah.
200,000 views as of today.
Congratulations. That's huge, Mike. Good for you.
Yeah,
Wow.
but I'm saying someone with your looks, talent, and charisma, what could you do? I have been bugging Brian here for literally a year to do something with me at least once a week. So I am so happy that he's here today. Now, what's funny is we actually had other people that were going to come up, and usually I'd be disappointed, But today I was kind of like, no, I think the universe wants us to be together. This is kind of like our pilot, and we're gonna have fun. I'm gonna tell you what's in the picture there because I can tell intuitively you have no idea. It says, "Come in, we're open." So where I'm segueing right now is, are we ever going to be open again? And when do you think, if you could give us a guesstimation, I'm not going to come knock on your door and go, Brian, you told me this date. But if you, just from the information you have so far, what do you think in
Oh, I can't
Canada?
wait. Man, I cannot wait for this thing to be over. I've been sheltering at home here for I feel like almost a year now, you know. And in the summer I can get out and I love canoeing,
Yeah.
Mike, as you know. So we get out and we're going outside and you can sort of because here in Toronto, where we are, it's cold in the winter. Now, I'll still go out there for a couple hours at the time, but normally in the summer I like to be outside for days at a time, and it's harder to do that in the winter. So I've been really feeling cooped up now. I'm definitely looking forward to at least warmer weather, and then the pandemic has to end, Mike, so we can get back together in Masonic Temple and see
Yes.
each other in person again and get that energy of all being in the same place together again. But you know what? It all depends on how quickly the vaccines go around. So I'm not sure who's watching here and
We've dropped
where
the ball.
people are from.
We've dropped the ball. Right now we have Ari in from work. So Ari, I have invited you if you'd like to come up. I know that you are doing things family wise. If you don't, that's cool too. I'm so glad that you're here. If you want to ask our guest a question, as long as it's not too personal, you've been in this chair, so you know. So please have mercy on this man. There you go. That's um. So what have we talked about so far? We've talked about music, which I love. We've talked about different formats of music. We've talked about some of your favorite video games and your favorite Get
Yeah,
video system. We talked
sure.
about
Got to fill
you know,
your time. Like we're trapped inside here, right? So
well, you
you
listen.
get different digital activities to fill all your different time
I'm
right now.
telling you right now, you're going to be doing some mental wrestling with this man coming in soon. So, and there is no time and space as soon as he's in the place. Oh, look at that! You'd swear I rehearsed
Hey,
that.
Ari, nice to
Hey
see
there.
you.
Nice to see you. Confirming my audio is okay.
It is
Sounded great.
beyond okay. Yeah, it's good. Your
Perfect.
signal's good. The
Perfect.
hair is. I give the hair a 6.
Nah, the hair is not good. I know. I
Yeah.
know. It's a bit of a pandemic challenge right now. I have I have the shaver here, and if I can't get into a hairdresser soon, I'm just gonna.
Oh, that's a
I'm,
great segue.
mm,
Okay, Brian, how are you getting your hair cut?
Well, I've had it cut twice now during the pandemic,
Yes,
and when it's been allowed, what we've done is we've hired my wife's hairdresser.
yes,
She's started doing her business differently, where she comes to you to cut your
yes.
hair. Right now, this isn't allowed in Toronto. So if I wanted a haircut right now, I couldn't get one even through this technique. But
Hmm.
there have been times when the restrictions um, lighten up a bit. And what happens is she comes over and we have a haircut in the garage. So we set up a chair, like we get the camping chair set up,
mm.
and the garage is open. Everyone's wearing a mask, and then she cuts your hair there. So the airflow is good. The masks are on, and that's the experience I've had twice now, is getting my hair cut in the garage, which has worked out fine. My hair is not too complicated to cut, so I've been able to get by.
My wife has cut my hair for 20 years. So
Wow.
this, yeah. So and she's
Okay.
multi-talented. She's an amazing woman. Her judgment in men isn't great, but thank God she loves me.
Thank
That,
God.
thank God. Sir. So your
Mm.
hair, are we going to get the Walmart buzz things and just go right to the scalp? Have you ever done that?
I did it. Well, during the first big lockdown. I mean, it
Yeah,
was going on already 4 or 5 months. I hadn't gotten my hair cut, and I'm approaching that right now. So
yeah,
I did buy a Remington like that lets me kind of cut it down.
yes.
If I spend some time in the morning, I can get it to look okay. So for work and on calls, it's fine. But
What's your
again, this
haircut
is
number? You go to number 5
well,
on
so
that shaver, or
yeah, good question. I do mostly the 4, you know, and
Okay.
then I sort of taper down to 3, 2, and 1 as you get to the back, just to try to make
Yeah,
it
yeah.
look half professional. But it's like 4, maybe 3 along the like right along the sides, and I
hmm
find that that works best for me. But
The
you know,
tapered
again,
look.
my
I
hair
like
does.
that. Yeah, I like that in
I
the back
try.
too. Mm.
I try. You know what? I got a good shaver, so I could do it again. I admit, if I
So
can't
you
get
do it
to a
yourself, Ari?
hairdresser, I do. I do.
Wow.
Now, do you have a beverage before you do it, Ari, or do you just, go in blind? You just say to yourself, "What will be." Que sera, sera. But see,
So
you guys have to be though camera ready. So we haven't done this with
We do?
Brian. We do this. We do this with
That true?
every single person that comes on the show. Tell us your gear. What are you currently using, and why are you
I find
using
it's
it?
best if I have the lowest resolution camera possible. You don't want to see me in too high definition. So I have the laptop camera in here, and
Mhm.
I like to smudge it a little bit. Just gets a layer of dust.
Mystery,
Yeah,
a layer of mystery.
just
Yeah.
so people can't see me too clearly, because I don't
Um,
want to frighten
yeah.
anybody.
yeah. Please, nobody use these techniques. I suggest you don't use the smudging. It may not work well for you. That actually sounded like a drug term for
But
some
I'm more of an audio guy, Mike. So I've
Yeah.
because I have my Tech Insights podcast, right?
Yes. Tell them
And
about that, Brian.
because
Tell them.
I
Shame,
have yeah,
shameless plug. Do it right now.
I'm shameless. I'm plugging. So because I have a face for radio and a voice for print, I host a podcast, but I use this Samsung Q60 microphone. Now that's Samsung, not Samsung. So that people get that wrong a lot. But I did some research and I listened to what other podcasters were saying was a good budget microphone. This thing was just $60, and it was sort of hard to find actually. But I found one. I think I bought it from B&H Photo,
Hmm.
and it's been excellent. Like it really picks up my voice well, and then it cuts out the background noise. It's very directional, so it's
Hmm.
not picking up for my recording purposes, like when the HVAC is on in here or the traffic's going on the street just outside my window. It doesn't pick up too much of that. So
Yeah.
I find it's been good for my podcasts.
Okay. Cool. Very cool. All right. Ari, tell us about your gear because we always have new people. It's insane the amount of people. So I want to tell you something right off the bat, which is wonderful. Brian, at this point in the show, we've never had this many people. We've never had
A new record.
164
Congratulations,
views
Mike.
at 30. No, it's you. So
It's
the
all you.
smudging
All
is
right.
working.
Congratulations to me. Yeah.
The smudging is working. Okay. So,
Yeah.
Ari, tell us about the
Yeah.
headphones.
So what I use is, and actually I'm flipping my gear a little bit. This is
Okay.
first of all for my personal use. For work, I just use the laptop and something a little bit simpler because I need to do it from a different room. But for personal like enjoyment like this, I've posted in the chat here.
Yeah.
What is this?
I have
Sorry. This is wild.
So that's a headphone. That's a DAC. So it's a multi-bit DAC. I have an amplifier hooked into an amplifier, and then I plug in a good like a full Cal X or a ZMF ZMF headphones. I use a Yeti X microphone, the blue Yeti X. I'm gonna hold that up here.
I've read a lot about the Yeti. Very popular.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm really
yeah.
digging it. I'm actually getting I've actually ordered the blue Compass boom arm just so that I can position it better because right now I have to kind of slouch a little bit in order to talk well into it and without me cranking the gain too high. And I'm just using a C920 Logitech webcam.
I'm really impressed by this audio setup, Ari. Holy cow. Look at this. You got the Schlitt Asgard 3 amplifier. Does that make you sound like you're in Viking heaven?
It's awesome. They all of their product names, and it's again I wrote it out because I don't want to say the words. I feel like I'm going to get Michael's broadcast banned for
How
using
did you
it.
figure this out? You sound great. Like your voice sounds
Thank
great
you.
right now. So
He does. You have to mortgage your house to get that system, though. That's the only problem with that. But
Ari, are you a musician? Do you do music recording with all this stuff?
I just enjoy the audio and the audio aspect of it.
Yeah.
And it's just I like the immersion of it. I just really enjoy it. And it's in the I have this nice little nook in one of our bedrooms here. I don't use it for work because my wife needs to use the room for work. So that's why you see my china cabinet. If you ever see me on calls at work, it's because I'm working out of my dining room, at least for for doing calls for Infotech. So yeah, but this is really my sort of my personal fun setup here.
Well, here's the thing. I've bothered Ari forever to do a podcast. And we've been talking this for over a year. And then Hans, who's not here, and I feel a little lost not having Hans here but he really needed, I think, a break, right? I think it was a busy week. He needs to get away. He's at the cottage. His people love him. He will be back. I'm doing a shameless plug for him too. Tuesdays and Thursdays on Haps, he's always got content on. He's had Ari on. He hasn't had the delightful ratings booster Brian Jackson, Smudge Master, in his presence. I think he's going to bring his podcast to a whole new level. But I think it's going to get to a point where you're going to be able to take these shows, hit one button, and it's going to be an instant podcast. And I want that. Because so many of the people that I talk to in the morning say to me, look, I can't watch you, but I can listen to you and I can try to figure out the chaos going in the room. And Ari's been in these broadcasts with me. Like, this is very structured. Yes. The ones that we do after, oh my Lord, it goes in every direction. And Ari's been amazing at navigating the looniness of it. I think I was built for the looniness, but
it's not loony. It's good conversation, and you know what? I like the fact that we can take in a variety of places, and we're all grown up, so we can handle the conversation. Yeah. I like to think I tried, or at least I try to be rational about all my positions, and so be it politics or business or society, and so really try to take a balanced view of that. And really, I'd like it when the people in the chat kind of push back and say, no, it's especially there were some things around COVID a while ago. I believe there was someone who was politely, respectfully, but pushing back pretty hard, and that's what makes this great.
Were you in the room earlier? Were you like lurking? Do you know who that is? I was hoping you.
Sorry, I wasn't in the room earlier.
Can you see that on your screen there? Who that person is, by any chance? Do you have an idea?
It's coming out a little small for me.
Okay. We can do this. Do you recognize her now?
Is that Hillary Clinton?
It was. Oh. So we were trying to figure out how different the world would have been if she would have taken Donald seriously. And I always do this with Ari. Yeah. I just put a little carrot out in front of him and let him go. So how different would the world been if she had won? Because a lot of people were devastated.
So a few things. So first of all, again, my lack of love for Donald Trump. You know that very well. But here's the thing. I understand why he won. I understood what led to it. And I understand that, and again, the election was hers and she lost it. Regardless of what anyone says, she lost it. And if she happened to skin by it and win it by like a tiny margin, I can guarantee you she would have been a one-term president. Yeah. This time around, there would have been someone Donald Trump-ish taking her place. Because voice, and again, why did Trump win? Because he was, because his base. Say what you will about them, and I don't want to get into that, but say what you will about them, but they were not heard. They felt underrepresented. They were boiling like a pot. Mm-hmm. And so, the fact that Hillary didn't win, it would have just delayed something that would have happened regardless. The release valve needed to be pulled.
So I want to share something with you, and I want you guys to chew on it for a second. The guy that does the elevator, his name is John. I hope he watches it. He's a good friend of mine now. Mm-hmm. And he maintains the elevator at the Masonic Temple. He also is a person who loves Disney World. So he goes and gets on the rides. I'm going somewhere with this. So he goes every year. And in 2016 and 2015, when he went, all he saw in Florida were huge banners for, guess who? Donald Trump. Of course. And he said, I knew then he was going to win. Florida was mentally in love with him, like over the hill, thought he was the next Messiah.
Of course, Florida is actually pretty split, right? Like pretty 50-50. And like you might have seen Trump banners, and Trump did win that state, I know, but it's not like by a landslide. It's like 51%. voters in Florida for Trump. And this time, like Florida went Republican again this time, but even by a slimmer margin for Trump, right?
It was tight. It was tight. But no, but
Yeah.
still, there is like from a philosophical point of view, they are, they tend to gravitate towards it. My parents will go down for a few months, just rent a place, in Florida before COVID, and they remember, and they were telling me stories that people would get to fistfights at their age over Trump. Like either people just thought he was the Messiah or thought he was the ultimate source of evil, but it was never anything in between. Very interesting.
That's a great point, Ari, and that makes me wonder, Mike. Like, you asked the question, how would the world be different if Hillary won? And I wonder if, in some ways, that there would be less division, especially in the U.S., because Trump was a person that brought out that division and made either love him or you hate him, and he leaned into that, right? Like, he knew that it was a good political game for him to play to make people angry or to get people riled up. Whereas Hillary, her style is to more unite people, right? Like a leader that wants to bring people together and focus on what they have in common. And we usually have more in common than we have different, or that sets us apart. Whereas Trump, he's more bombastic, right? He wants you to think that you're totally different from everyone else, or that you've been wronged by other people, that you're too far apart from this guy that votes for the Democrats to ever consider working with them. So I wonder if that would be a big difference.
Brian, do you think maybe you have a little bit of hair envy, just like the imagination that man had for the comb over? Could it be just a little bit of that, just smidgen? Because I always thought with Ari, when I talked about it, he was a little bit fascinated with the hairdo. And I was too. I always thought, how does it stay? How does it not fall off? Like, but he said it was real. Is it real? If it's real, put 1. If it's not real, put 2. There you go.
Right.
Can we go to Mars? Can we go to Mars?
I think we would have caught him by now. He's been so scrutinized that if it was a toupee, maybe it would have been revealed at this point. So there's a lot of fake news around Trump, but it must be real here.
So there's just a comment from Walt in the chat here around.
Thank you.
That's sorry to ask, but do American people know? We're not American here. What the rest of the world think of him? Well, they do, but again, there's to America's credit, and I will say this to their credit, they don't care, right? It is their country. It is they want they want who they want, and they're kind of used to even when presidents were a little more rational than Donald Trump, they were kind of okay not being loved around the world because they felt that they felt in their hearts that they were absolutely right. And and God bless them for doing that, right? And that there are some great benefits to that, and there's clearly some challenges with thinking that way. So I think they do know, and I don't think they care.
Can we go to Mars, Brian? I'm sorry it took so long.
Can't wait. Let's get on a rocket ship and fly over there.
Yeah. Brian wanted to
talk about one place that Trump hasn't ruined yet. So
fair.
Well, Elon Musk wants to go there, but not the first time. He said that. He said he doesn't want to be one of the first people to go. He said because I think he said 8 to 9% survival rate, and he felt like he could do more good being
astronauts. The most dangerous job, and there's one job that's more dangerous than being an astronaut. You know what it is?
I don't know. A game show host, being on HAPS and trying to do a business show. I don't know.
Yeah, that ranks up there, but it's test pilot.
So, yes. Yeah. Oh, it would be.
The people that get into that crazy new aircraft that's just being engineered, and they say, okay, this is a supersonic jet. We need you to fly it and find out if it works or not. So just go take a spin around the country at 30,000 feet. That's the most dangerous job. And of course, many astronauts have that career path where they are test pilots, like Canada's Chris Hadfield. He was a test pilot before he went on to become the commander of the space station.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I think of Tesla, I always have the visual in my head at the stoplight, the car like looking like it's been shot out of a rocket. They're so fast. From 0 to 60, it's like a blink. in a Tesla. I remember the first time I saw one do that, I went, whoa, did I just see that? So I think for people who own them and that kind of, would you ever own one, Ari? Like it matches your stereo.
A Tesla. I'm a little more, believe it or not, even though I do like gadgets and whatnot, I'm actually fairly conservative, at least in terms of cutting edge with a number of key family house purchases, like a car and things of that sort.
Yeah.
I'll let other people, work out the issues first. And also, you know what? Philosophically, I don't like spending tons of money on my car. There's many other things I would rather spend.
I agree. It's not a good investment.
That's the thing, is the price point's still pretty high for just for what you need in terms of a car. I agree.
Like, look, if you don't want to have, if you want to have cheap stuff at home and a nice car, I know a lot of people that do that. Okay, fine. That's your thing. I prefer the opposite. And so for me, I have an 8-year-old car and a 12-year-old car, and you know what? They run fine. And when they stop running fine, I'll go buy a new one.
How old is your headphones? That's what I want to know. Okay, so Brian, Brian, how you doing there? So listen, if you and I had a chance to go, and they called us and said, let's go to Mars, and your survival rate isn't very good, but you have a chance to go. Anybody in the room? I've asked this question before. Would you go, Brian, and why? And if you wouldn't go, to tell me why as well.
Yeah, would I go? I probably like Elon. I don't want to be the first person there. I don't want to go on an 18-month rocket ship journey, because that's how long it takes at best to get there. If you're doing human space travel, I think it's like an 18-month one-way trip, and then you have to come back at some point too. So that would be a long time in a very small tin can with some other people. And then once you get there, of course, it's not like there's nothing on Mars right now, right? It's not like you get out there and you're exploring and you're running around and it's wonderful. It's just red dust. So would I go and be one of the first people to part of me would want to say, oh, if I could be the first person on Mars, but honestly, I'll leave that to somebody else. Wait, I want to get to the point where it's more like in the sci-fi movies, like in Total Recall or something, and there's like some sort of cool space station up there, some sort of base of operations, and you've got like a colony with a few more comforts going before I'm going to Mars. Personally, what about you guys?
I have no interest being on the cutting edge. If you ever watch the sci-fi show, which I love, by the way, The Expanse, it's a pretty established universe there with Mars and the belt and stations. I would travel then because I think that's cool. But you know what? I don't need to be the first one where, it's, if the oxygen generator fails, like you kind of die instantly.
There's so many things that could go wrong. Right? Even food sources. Like if you don't have the right diet, you'll be gone in no time.
You're right.
Right? You'll be gone. C.S. Murphy, I so desperately would love for you to come up, just spend a few minutes with us at the end of the show, show everyone your setup, tell us why you're happy with Haps. He has the most incredible setup for broadcasting. It is mind-blowing. He does anything from OBS while he's also playing an instrument while sampling, and then also has got his 3D printer going at the same time and selling products and talking to people. It's multifunctional. But I'm going to answer that question if it's okay. I would go. I would go in a heartbeat, and even if I knew I would die, at least I would feel like I'd done something very crazy and substantial. And something that might make a difference. I'd be willing to lose my life on that.
Or it wouldn't be in the history books, that's for sure.
Well, it still might be. Yeah, I still have a little time. I'm hoping. We're working on it. With Ari's help and you, who knows? Like don't put a glass ceiling on this dream here, brother.
Hopefully we can find a way that doesn't involve you dying in space, though, Mike.
Well, sometimes you got to be like a flash of light, a burning star, an amber of joy. My God, I'm going to tear up here. Do you got any Kleenex there, Ari?
No, actually, I don't.
Okay. No, I would go. I'd honestly go. The little boy in me would go in a heartbeat, even if I knew I wasn't going to make it. But
did you see the Perseverance rover land there this week? Were you following that?
Oh, that's so
Mike?
cool.
Because I mean, what's amazing to me is that you don't have to go to Mars to experience it these days. I was
Agreed.
just watching my Twitter feed, and suddenly, pictures from Mars are coming in, and that's amazing to me that thing landed, and minutes later, it's uploading images of the rocky soil there, and
Right.
just you're transported to another planet, and then that just happened minutes before you saw the photo being taken. So it's incredible to me. And you can even go on something like Google Mars, the mapping technology that they've made,
Yeah.
like for a street view that we all use. You
Yeah.
can go and like explore sections of Mars using
Yeah.
that same tool, and walk
Is
through its mountain ranges. And
is it true though in the mountain ranges they found an old McDonald's sign, with the arches? Is that true? I saw. Okay.
yeah, that
So
chain is getting out of hand.
yeah,
Locations everywhere. I mean,
yeah.
somebody has to hedge back on that expansion.
So the reason I brought that comment up is C.S. Murphy said, "There's nothing on Mars yet, or is there?"
I'm pretty sure there was life on Mars. We're pretty, just based on sort of what they saw in evidence of water and different environments, pretty sure we'll find some fossils at some point of something on Mars.
Are we talking intelligent life?
Well, to find intelligence, I would say you'll definitely find sentient life, like life that like cells and small animals and things of that sort. I actually think you will. Intelligent life, like for us to sort of communicate with and trade things with them, I don't know about that, but definitely there will be definitely life. I agree.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that
So,
billions of
Ari,
years ago, there could have been a whole civilization there, and we could never know, because that's what the passage of time does. It just erodes, like with the atmosphere of Mars being blown away. Like it's just totally exposed to space and meteoroid showers.
Yeah.
So they could have had a whole civilization there, but it would have just been eroded down to dust by now because of its exposure to the vacuum of space.
Exactly.
So I'm going to ask you, and I know this is out there, but more and more people are saying that we'll have, in the next 2 to 3 years, a full disclosure that there is other forms of life in other galaxies.
I can't imagine we're that special. I would say that's pretty much that's a safe bet I'll take any day. I mean, there's absolutely life elsewhere.
How about you?
I mean, go ahead.
No.
I mean, I think that if you look at it and is there intelligent life out there? So I wonder if the question though that people are asking though, Michael, because there's the way you phrased that, it almost made it seem like there's people out there in the world that know about intelligent life that exists, and they're not telling the rest of us, right? So I don't think that's happening. Like, I don't think that there's evidence out there today of intelligent life, but I think that there's a lot of scientific endeavors that might find that it's possible that intelligent life exists in other places. Like, did you know that until 2009, we'd never even taken a photo of another planet that was not in our own solar system?
I didn't know that. Did you know that, Ari?
I knew it was recent. 2009 is pretty recent. Yeah.
We didn't have the ability to even know where one extrasolar planet was in outside of the solar system until very recently. And now things are moving at an incredible pace, where we've now observed and documented hundreds of them. And now there's a new mission that's going up. They're going to put a telescope on a satellite. So most of our satellites are pointed at Earth. This one will be pointed out into the space, and it's going to look for light that will tell us if there's gases on other planets that are created by life being there. Just like on Earth, we have oxygen, we have nitrogen in our atmosphere. That's all there because things are living here. And it's possible to see that from so far away, because light can be refracted by those gases. And then
Ari's trying to get in. Go, Ari.
No, it's okay, Brian. Then haven't we already done that with Hubble?
No, Hubble was an older telescope, so it wasn't made for this type of light spectrometry, Ari, where they've, it can look and it can see like different visible light ranges and even some redshift sort of thing. So it was really made to understand like the shape of different solar systems, where are the other galaxies, what is the composition of them, but it doesn't have the capability to examine sort of the light that's being refracted by these extra solar planets and their gases. So that telescope was launched in the 70s, and we haven't even seen, we didn't even have this sort of technique of light spectrometry that I'm talking about until more recently.
So you bring up a very interesting point there with the, sort of the technology that goes to these neat places, or that does these wonderful advances, are based on things that were developed 20 years ago, just because of how slow and how rigid you need to keep your processes. But it's interesting. The one thing that's disrupting is SpaceX, where now modern technology is pushing to go out there. Where before it's really NASA is only going to rely on things that are 20 years old, rightfully so. I understand their perspective. And so the thing that, for example, the Mars Perseverance, that's based on year 2000-ish, 2003-ish, technology that they've refined to make sure it works well, not like new stuff that we've done and new ways of better ways of communicating done in 2018 and beyond. And so people forget that really it's so the technology, there's a bit of a technology gap with whatever deep space activities we do. Elon Musk seems to be shortening that window a little bit, but that's something a lot of people forget.
Yeah, it's absolutely, like, SpaceX and what they've accomplished is absolutely amazing. Like, they've made space exploration so much more affordable than when it used to be just NASA, for example, that was building the spacecraft, building the rockets, operating the whole operation, the whole stack of things that you need to be able to do that was so expensive before, costing billions. And now, with SpaceX and the fact that they can return a rocket booster and use it again, right? Everybody's seen these amazing videos of these rocket boosters landing themselves now, and it looks amazing. And it is amazing because of the money that it saves on putting something into orbit or into space.
Yeah. Our audience, just one second, our audience is loving our conversation. They're not used to this level of intelligence in my scopes. I can tell just by the comments here. Even though I'm hurt on some level, I have to come to the realization of truth is truth.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'm so grateful you guys are here. Now, Ari, you really have not had anything that you wanted to chew on. We could go another 5-10 minutes if it's okay with, because I know Brian has an entourage and he's probably got people waiting, but we can do that.
I can go another few minutes.
Okay, no, but it would be you can direct the spaceship. So what would you like to talk about?
I'm curious about, I like the space theme actually, and I know, Brian's all over it, and so that makes me happy. So what's next? What's next after Mars? Is there a next preferred planet to visit, or is there something else we want to be doing? What do you think?
Well, where I'd really like to explore is Jupiter's moons. There's amazing, like, planet-sized moons go around Jupiter with oceans of liquid methane in them. And my imagination just gets going, wondering what's in those oceans. Can we launch some sort of satellite that would have a submarine that would be part of it, and it would crash through the ice? I'm imagining it on Europa or Titan, perhaps, and start swimming through the oceans, and who knows what's down there. And you read things about these moons, like they might have active geothermal cores, so it's possible that the temperatures aren't as freezing as we would think, just because they're so far away from the sun. And we know so little about those moons, and I just hope that I live to see the day where we explore them in a little more detail, because that concept really fascinates me, this idea that there's other oceans in our solar system to explore.
That aren't water. that are something else,
Right.
some other liquid material, which is, really, really, I agree. Those kinds of planets would be really interesting. I'm curious if they have other forms of life that we don't even think of. I mean, clearly, sort of the standard carbon-based life forms that we think about
Right.
would not survive well in a methane-rich environment. But I mean, that
Mhm.
doesn't, there aren't other kinds that are there, and I'm
That's a
really,
good point, Ari. I mean, just because carbon-based life is the only type of life we've observed so far, and that's what's possible here on Earth, that doesn't mean that there's no other elements that life can be based upon. And once you sort of extend the realm of possibility for those things to exist, you can widen the scope of what's possible. You know, when I talk about the type of exploration we're doing with these extrasolar planets and looking for the gases like oxygen and nitrogen, that's all
Mhm.
on the assumption that life is based on carbon. And
Yeah,
if it's not, if there's other types of life out there, then who knows where it could be coming from and what it would look like.
you're absolutely right. You're
Can
absolutely.
I just interject for 1 second here? You guys are slightly disappointing me on something here,
Oh,
because this is a business show,
right.
and you
We're
guys
we're
aren't
getting way
talking.
off in space. We're
You
we're
got no,
blasting
space
off
is
into
good. Space
yeah.
has money though. There's those on, those
Hmm.
minerals,
Well,
right?
so the
Those
next question,
diamonds.
that was my next follow-up question, Michael, about
Well,
you have this methane-rich environment. All right,
yeah.
wouldn't it be nice, wouldn't it be nice, or these gas-rich environments, wouldn't it be nice to mine that? And that would completely upend our, the way the, basically what we consider to be precious. I mean, what if we find an asteroid that has, mostly gold or mostly diamond on it? Let's say, or something of the sort. Diamond really
Hmm.
tough because of how diamonds get formed, but gold and other minerals like that, things that are immensely valuable here. What if we find a planet full of them? That's interesting. I mean, you see that in The Expanse and shows like that where they just have their planets where they just mine the heck out of them. And
God, I love when he gets passionate. Did you see?
yeah,
It's like a whole other gear. It's like he's putting the pedal to the metal. You can, if anybody's brains start to have like, warmth and you feel like some steam's coming out of your ears, it's okay. You're expanding. Ari's talking. Sorry.
oh,
Sorry. I just
yeah.
needed a moment there for a second. But so guys, we are into 1 hour and 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We have missed one other thing that I want to talk about. This is the one thing I did want to talk about, and you guys are going to laugh, I think. Number one, 5G. And number two, them putting satellites up everywhere so we can have Wi-Fi.
All the Starlink stuff. Yes.
Yes. Now, I don't know if they're mining gold up there, but, and I don't know if it's going to bring that kind of
They
passion out
want
of
to.
you.
Yeah, the people that made
Do
Starlink,
they?
like they have a big plan to eventually get into asteroid mining
I knew
operations,
it.
but there's a
Yeah.
lot of pieces that go into that. I mean, you think about you need the machinery to be able to land on the asteroid, harvest the materials, get it back to Earth somehow. It's a lot of problems to solve.
I- I'm actually, and again, I'm going to bring it back from the stars for a second, and I agree with everything Brian is saying. By the way, I don't want to discount anything you're saying, Brian. But the Starlink satellites. What's so exciting about that? It actually turns, internet and access to information potentially, into I'll call it a human right, or something that you just get. It makes it so available now. You don't have to, if you're in wherever you are in. Dealing with Rogers and Bell and having to beg for them for pittance of a plan. I mean, it's not saying Starlink is cheap; the equipment's expensive, but governments can. It's plausible for the governments to fund that a little bit and give access to everybody. I mean, there's actually the societal implications of what they're doing is actually pretty amazing. And
Yeah,
what, the ISPs should be scared.
yeah, and especially when you consider that the ISPs that we have now only serve a certain portion of the population that happens to be based around cities.
Yeah.
And when you think about something like Starlink connecting billions more people that are living in rural areas, we have the Canadian context here because we're all in Toronto. So we think about Northern Ontario and things like that. But never mind that. What about all around Africa, India, just billions more people that can suddenly become part of this digital economy? I mean, that's really exciting.
Amen. Amen.
Okay, folks, we're at that point. So, did we even get to 5G? We didn't get to 5G, did we? Or kind of.
It's
No, you said it, but we didn't talk. We didn't say
You
anything about
You
it.
didn't want to chew on it. I could
It's
tell.
just-
It's like when you give a no. It's like
Starlink is much more significant implication of 5G.
no.
Yeah.
You know what it's
I mean,
like. It's
5G will be an option for some rural people to connect, and I think in the near term that, like, I know that it's an objective of the government in Canada to connect some rural communities through 5G fixed broadband. It's going to be, it has implications for sure for the telco industry. It's just a different type of conversation in Starlink, which is all about rural broadband around the globe. 5G is about all sorts of new applications that businesses will have access to.
Brian.
Yeah.
Brian, let's be real. Let's be real. Listen, I served you a plate. Okay, it had liver on it. Okay, and that was 5G. And then there was this beautiful brownie and a steak to the side. And that was everything else you guys talked about.
Yeah.
So, okay, but I get it. I get
One
it.
last thing, Michael, one last thing. So I'm going to
I thought you weren't eating meat.
Yeah.
You're serving me liver?
Yeah. I'm going to assert one more thing with 5G versus internet and broadband. At some point, it's all going to be the same thing. We make this distinction between, mobile cellular lines versus data lines. And that's a history. That's a historical concept because of our infrastructure. At some point, it's just not going to matter anymore at that level. You can layer your phone service on top of your broadband. You're going to see the fundamental backbone is going to be changing.
Ari,
Hi.
you got to do a podcast, man. You got to do it. You got to find a way. It's like Celine Dion saying, "Look, I only sing in the shower. I don't have the time." Like you've got to find your way here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
you got all that equipment, you got the voice, you get passionate. It'd be great. So I think you should do that, even if you did one a month. So if we can talk about you, Brian, just for a second in your podcast before we go, just like church, we circle back around.
Well, we can get Ari on Tech Insights. There you go. We'll get him started.
I would love that. I would
we got him on HAPS, on whatever this is called. And now next up, we'll get him on the Infotech Media Tour here. You can come on Tech Insights.
I think he would love that, but I think he'd be more into the outer space insights.
Totally. I love my day job, so I mean, anything Infotech related would be just fine.
Yes, beautiful. But it's also nice to have different meals. Right?
Of course.
Yeah. So listen, we always end the show, and everybody was making jokes about it earlier. I always ask, what are you currently grateful for? That's how we always end the show. What are you currently grateful for? Brian, you can go first.
Banana pancakes. I made some for breakfast this morning. Beautiful blackberries and blueberries on top, and just like it's my Sunday breakfast ritual. Always delicious. I sit down with my wife. We eat a stack of banana pancakes. It's a great Sunday ritual around here. And the cats are around. You're just enjoying life. You're sipping your coffee. It's part of this sort of slower start to a Sunday. So I'm thankful for that.
That's a great answer. I like it.
It is a great answer.
Yeah.
It's not one I'd ever give, but
do you eat banana pancakes in your new diet? Is that allowed?
I can't.
No,
I can't. See, you're
no
doing
meat.
Food porn with me here. You're doing food porn with me there, man. It's the sugar thing.
What diet
it's
are
okay.
you on?
I'm fading away that diet. No. I'm part rabbit diet.
What do you eat for breakfast? Eggs?
What am I eating right now for breakfast? I usually have a green juice. If you want the truth, it looks like this. I might have a smidgen of cereal, a very small bowl, so my portions are not what they used to be. And I'm not eating as frequently, and I'm not, like what you said earlier, I think in the green one, I'm not drinking anymore either. So,
well, it's never too late to sort of take charge of certain aspects of your health. So if that works for you, Great.
Yeah.
You know what I thought he was going to say? It's never too late to turn back right around, buddy, and get yourself them pancakes, and I'm coming over with the bottle of tequila, and away we go.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
Well,
go
I
ahead.
want to hear Ari's answer now.
Okay, go for it.
What he's
So
grateful for.
I'll keep it to a food theme. Usually I talk about health and just I can
Mhm.
provide for the family and stuff, but I'll make it lighter today. Definitely grateful. You know, I actually bought myself the supermarket version of it. The one thing I haven't gotten in ages has been
Mhm.
sushi.
Mm.
Right, I
Ah.
love sushi, and there's
Yeah.
a decent place near me, but again, I don't go out that much unless I absolutely have to.
Get
Just right
takeout.
now, yeah, and I find the takeout stuff to be brutally expensive. But I mean, I did go and got myself a nice plate of sushi today, and I was eating this, and I'm just like, you know what? Even though it's supermarket sushi and the rice has been overcooked a little bit, and it's just not quite the right consistency, and I was like, I feel great. I feel fantastic. There was a great place near the office around the corner that I used to go to a fair bit, and that I loved, and I missed that place especially.
I went there a couple times. Yeah, I
You
know
know
the
where I'm
place
talking
you're
about?
talking about.
Just on the east side of Yonge Street, right? Just
Yeah.
a little bit south from the office.
Yeah, that was an Infotech favorite.
Are you guys reading the comments here? We're getting donuts.
You know,
So yeah,
so
and no sushi, no thanks, and
no.
it's got a
So from a
puking
health
emoji.
perspective, sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, Michael. I'm talking.
No, you go for it. It's okay. It's just
there's a bit of a delay, so I find that it's a little awkward for me. So I apologize. For me, the whole just with COVID and everything like that, I found I was like packing on a little bit of weight as I was getting to December, and then I realized, you know what, I need to turn this around. So by the time we get back to the office, it's like nothing happened. And so since then, I've been like, you know what, no sugar, or at least very limited sugar.
Yes.
I've been vegetarian for probably a couple of years now, just for health reasons, But
you gotta look at the comments, Brian.
I am looking. I'm looking.
Yeah, I see them. Yeah.
I see that. You know what? I love donuts too. I love donuts too, and it's something I deeply miss. But I've cut most of that out.
Yeah.
But yeah. So again, right? So I can relate to just trying to eat healthier and stuff like that. I mean, but again, it's not like I'm not cutting back everything, but definitely really kind of moderating. And for a long time, most of my meals have been the same, because that's the only way you can really keep some consistency. It's very tough to just make up and say, I'm going to have this now and this now. It's like every day you got to have your oatmeal for breakfast. And, maybe decide one day's a bit of a treat day, like Brian, in your case, the banana pancakes, fantastic choice, but things of that sort. But that's the only way you can do it is consistency, and just really, really taking a pause with what you're putting in your body.
Okay. I think this was a fun combination. I see the planets aligned for us. I have wanted Brian for over a year for him and I to do something together. We've talked about this, and we just never got it done. And today, I'm hoping in the future, Ben Dickey was going to be here today, but he must have got delayed in some way. So hopefully we'll have Ben Dickey in the future. And you know what? Once again, the universe has conspired in my favor and made another wonderful show. And I don't think there's ever been three more wonderful human beings placed in one room. So thank you so much. And very
Michael,
humble.
You're so kind. Thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun. So I
definitely
appreciate
we can't go.
Organizing it.
Oh God, we almost left. We can't go. We almost
gosh.
Oh my God, Mark!
Somebody's swooping in at the last minute here.
Mark, we were like this close. So Mark, tell us. How are you doing today, my friend? Does everybody know Mark, first of all?
I know Brian, but I'm not sure if Harry and I have met.
No, I've seen your name, but no, I don't think we've met.
Well, I'm grateful you're here. So listen, I'm going to ask you what you're currently grateful for during COVID, and then we're going to,
long walks. I had a nice long walk today, so that was great.
Yeah, long walks. Now, now that we've got him here, can we just chew on one more thing for like 5 minutes? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Is that okay? Mental health.
I bring this topic to your mind?
Yes, you actually did. Yes, you did, sir. No, I want to address it because we don't talk about it enough, how the kids are actually suffering with all the changes, especially those that are, going to high school. the ones that are, transitioning from grade 8 to grade 9. Just the disruptions, they're endless, right? So, and the other thing is too, the Groundhog Day effect for everybody. Like you just said, every day is the same.
Mm-hmm.
Is anybody else feeling some of these symptoms, and are you being extra vigilant to help the people around you to feel supported? Who wants to go first?
Well, I think with the students, because I've heard some from friends of mine who are high school teachers, all it is doing is encouraging their natural adolescent rebelliousness, right?
Okay.
Because we've got very strict rules around COVID right now, and teenagers are often want to question adult authority, so they look around and they see, well, I don't see anybody getting COVID around me, and it's not going to affect, it doesn't really affect young people as much as it does old people. So it just encourages them to go around and ignore all of the rules that have been put in place for them, right? And encourages them to, question adult authority even more than teenagers normally would.
Yes, I would agree. Brian, Brian's going, I thought I was going to evade this question. Okay, go.
Yeah, I mean, all I can think during this time is that I'm glad I don't have kids during the pandemic, because I think it would be so much harder if I did. Like, Ari, I think you have kids there, right?
Mm-hmm. I have 2.
Yeah, so for parents, I have a lot of sympathy. I have friends that have kids, and not that I don't like kids. I love them. Used to work with kids quite a bit, but I just think of all the challenges of trying to do everything where you're working from home, and then your kids are also learning from home for a lot of people during this time. So you've got to be a teacher to them and make sure they're on track with what they're trying to achieve. And I see it with my clients, even that you're trying to have a conversation with a CIO or something, and then their 4-year-old comes in and and needs like some socks or something random, and everything is interrupted. So it's hard enough just this whole remote work scenario, that I think having to manage your kids at home all the time would be another challenge.
I would agree. And you know what? And it's my kids are a little older. I have a 15-year-old, almost 16, and an 11-year-old, almost 23. And they're good kids. But you know what? It's been hard on them in different ways, for sure. And so, giving them support, giving them love. I mean, you got to do that. And it's been the problem is that with this is the model works for some kids, and for some kids they really need that human contact. There's only so much they can do on screen, and I would say that definitely for one of my kids it's been harder than the other in that regard. And so I mean it is, you just got to try to be there for them. And so this is why, for example, on the weekend I'm pretty regimented with my schedules around them, and during the week, because I'm ignoring them for the most part because of work, because I have to, right, during the day. And so, try to find a way of balancing that.
And thank you for coming in today, because I know that interrupted the flow, and I really appreciated you being here. That really makes a difference. So Ari and Brian, if you guys can drop down, and that's the end of the show for you. But Mark and I are going to talk about some other stuff for a few minutes here. And I've really enjoyed you guys being here. Thank you so much. And I'm going to give Mark I'm going to ask him some questions you guys will not want to be answering. I know for sure.
Okay. I'll take that opportunity to escape then. Thanks, Michael.
All right.
Have a great Sunday.
Guys. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Mike, how you doing? I'm doing
good. Better late than never. There you go.
Well, yeah, there's how it works, eh?
So, it's going to get really casual, guys. We just transformed from business into monkey business, I think, for a second here, but we'll be okay. So tell me, during this time that you're going through right now, what has been for you the greatest transition? Like, what has been the greatest challenge during this time?
I guess finding stuff to do, because that's about it. It hasn't been all that challenging for me, and I know a lot of people have been challenged in many different ways, so I don't want to sound glib. But, I'm thankful that I have employment, which is a blessing at this time. Many people are unable to maintain their employment right now, but I've got my employment, and I'm happy working from home, right? Because I used to work in education and higher education, right? And teachers, so honestly, like university lecturers and so on, we do have our work from home all the time, right? And in my new role, it's mostly meetings and speaking with clients on the phone. So that's straightforward as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
I want to address something that I read recently with you, and just because I think you and I are in some ways are wired very similar, but and yet different too. Kind of like long lost brothers, which is nice, and I mean that as the highest form of a compliment. But the some people are saying if it's rigid about not being able to work from home, they're going to find other work. And I've read that everywhere. So now that we've given a slight smidgen of a different life, a different pathway, they're all saying there are the camp that are like, yeah, I'm okay with going into work maybe once or twice a week, but beyond that, I'm not doing the 5 days a week. I'm not going to do the commute. And then you're going to have, I think, the other camp that are like, yeah, I don't think I'm ever going back. If you can use my services from here, we'll do that. Where are you on that pendulum, and why?
I'm probably on the side of I'd go in for a couple times a week for sure, right? That's what I was used to when I was working in doing lecturing in university, right?
Yeah.
Because you pretty much at university, you got to show up for your lectures and you got to show up for your office hours and maybe a couple meetings outside of that. Where you are is your own business, right? If you like working in your office, then have at it. If you like working from your home, then that's good too, right? So,
have you ever dabbled in? I know this is really like the other spectrum. Yeah. Have you ever dabbled in, Bitcoin? Or any of those?
I've always stayed away from the Bitcoin, eh? I've got friends who got into it, and I got a couple friends who made quite a bit of cash in it, right? And, I'm kicking myself because, when there's always that lost opportunity. I remember must have been like, 2015. And I remember going to the dentist and I was listening to the news and it said, Bitcoin just had a slump. And I thought, maybe I could buy some Bitcoin. And this was 2015 before the big craziness happened.
How much was it back then? Do you remember?
Oh, I can't remember, but it was like it was under $100 back then. It was peanuts back then compared to what it is now. But at that time, the other thing was it wasn't that clear about who you were buying it from, how you would store it, all of that type of stuff. And so that put me off at the time. Right. And by the time everybody wants to buy it, that's when I always say, I don't want to buy what everybody else is buying. Cause
I remember when it was at $400.
Yeah.
And there were quite a few individuals at work that were buying as much as they possibly, whatever they could afford, they were buying to the point, I think, where it's like, okay, I can live on peanut butter and jelly.
Wow. They made a good coin then, didn't they?
So some of them, now a few of those people don't work for the company anymore, but I remember them saying to me, listen, jump in, 400 is not too much. And I was thinking, you're crazy. But now I should have known the person who said this. I've always really respected their mental capacities. I should have maybe listened a little better. I missed the opportunity. Donald, do you want to come up for a second before we end the show and give us some of your, he is so into Bitcoin.
Oh, really?
He lives, breathes it. We haven't done it. We always do it during the show in some way. How have you found dating during COVID? Like, were you able to meet anyone?
Have you found dating the same? Oh, my mic is way down. Apparently, how do I turn up my mic?
No, I know you sound great. You're fine.
Okay, all right, that's good.
You're fine. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm hearing it well. The only thing that's driving me crazy is whatever you're eating. You keep. I keep hearing.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. It's almost like this. There is a ghost in the room. You know, like you're trying to decipher between the sounds. I always thought those shows were hilarious, right? They always have the, you know, and they have this the thing, and I'm thinking, what did they say? I don't know. The sound guy in me, yeah. Yeah, but I love those shows where the 8 ball off the pool table flies away, and the chairs fall and the cupboards crash.
Oh, the poltergeist type of stuff. Hey, that was
yeah. But I always wonder, okay, how much is that as strings and levers? Strings, like they're pulling it by strings. I remember
I liked it when they did it by strings and levers and everything. Now it's all CGI, but back in the day, if you wanted to film a flying pool ball, you had to get a flying pool ball.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Yeah. But there is one that I saw a couple of years ago in London, and all the monitors went on and off very quickly, and then chairs started moving and doors started slamming. And I tell you, if that was real, bravo, phenomenal that you caught it. If it wasn't real, double bravo, because it was like, it looked so real. So stuff that's like that, I love the ones that make me think, is this all real? Like, even if 10% of it is real. Yeah. But we were talking earlier, and I wanted to ask you this question. This is kind of why I put you in alone. But if someone offered me the opportunity to go to Mars, I would go tomorrow.
Really?
I would go. Just put me in the suit. I'd go. Even if I knew I was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even if I thought 97% chance that we'd never make it to there, I would go. Mm-hmm. I would, just for the opportunity to be outside to me, that just fills all the boxes of the little boy in me. For you, what would you do?
I wouldn't.
Would you go? You wouldn't go.
It's sort of, like, it's right up there with going on roller coasters, and I wouldn't go on a roller coaster. So.
You know what Donald? You know what Donald put in here? You know what Donald said? He said, "I'm busy. Leave me alone." He's so funny. Oh my God. So we have the regulars in here right now. This has been an incredibly long show for us, because usually it's an hour.
How long have we been running then?
Well, we're now into 1 hour and 27 minutes.
Okay.
And for the business show, if you can get 150 people, when it airs, that's really good. Guess what we're currently at?
What are we at now?
401.
Wow.
Which means by probably tomorrow, if you kind of base it on the normals, it's going to be around 800-900, and by the end of the week, it might be 1,200. And my theory is because of Brian. Brian Jackson came in. Started talking.
And he's got his podcast going. Do you think some podcast listeners jumped on?
No, he talked about fun things. Like he talked about video games, and he talked about Mars, and he has such enthusiasm about it. And then I kind of poked Ari with the political stuff. I put did you watch the show at all before?
Were you? I watched a little bit, but I'm not a big watcher. So
is that
Hillary?
Yes. So what I did was I said, I'm going to ask you the same question. Mm-hmm. I said, if Hillary had won, how different would the world be right now?
I'm not too sure, right? I think on the one hand, I think there's a lot more political participation around, say, Trump's base, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing, right? Because I think a lot of the people who voted for Trump were disenfranchised. So I think it's good that they're taking participation in the political world. And then one thing that I always find interesting is around Trump's stance on China. So that was one of his big 2016 talking points.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we got to go. And the funny thing is, there was a trade agreement that the U.S. was meant to be a major part of called the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, right? And Trump canceled that because he canceled all the trade agreements that he could, right? But that one was interesting because what that was, it's Trans-Pacific, right? So if you go, you think of the Pacific, you've got like Canada, the U.S. on the west coast going down to Mexico, and then on the other side you got Japan and so on. All that sort of the Pacific ring, if you will, right? And the TPP was meant to be a trade deal between all of those countries except China.
Ah.
So we cut China out and give the good deals to everybody else, which means we leave China out in the cold, right? So that was the deal that was meant to happen, and Trump canceled that, which is interesting in itself, right? I think because he just wanted to cancel everything. But, you know, if Hillary had come in, they would have gone down that path and might have actually had some better footing against China than they do right now.
Okay, so there is the theme here. It's not just craziness. I don't know how well you can see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to make it where you can see it here. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you recognize all the people in this photo?
Yeah. So we got Dean Martin, Marilyn Monroe, and is that Jerry Lewis?
It is.
Okay, good.
It is. Now think, okay, that's about 60 years old, I think. That might be around 60 years old, maybe a little more.
Yeah, it's probably around. It's in the early 50s, most likely, right?
I think that's around 60 something.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 60, maybe just before I was born.
Sure.
So maybe 60 years old. You're right. 60. Whatever. 60. Yeah. But think of technology-wise, how much the world has changed, right? Yeah. From that time to now to TV. Like there was 2 or 3 stations. The radio was a big thing. Movies were still huge. There was no VCRs or, there was no downloading movies.
Yeah.
There was no haps. God forbid, eh?
Well, the funny thing is, the big change wasn't between 1960 and now, right? It was more just between 2000 and now. Like back in 2000, I was still walking around with a card so that I could, use payphones without having to throw coins into it. Now you can't find a payphone, right?
Do you remember the pagers? That was a big thing.
Oh, yeah. I was teaching in Japan back in the late 90s, and all the little kids had pagers, and their moms would page them to come home for dinner. That was the cutest thing.
Yeah. So now we have so many platforms where they're almost doing, calls with each other, right?
Yeah,
which is so weird. You know the new platforms. Have you tried any of them?
I tried this today.
Only because you bothered me incessantly and drove me crazy. So see, and you know what he did? He went, okay, if I wait till the very end, I can pop in and I'll do 35 seconds and I'll go, I tried, man. I tried. I stubbed my toe. I was coloring my hair. I saved a neighbor who couldn't get up the stairs.
Yeah.
I delivered groceries to those who couldn't get to the grocery store. I was just imagining all the excuses. So I thought, okay, he wants to play that game. I can play a different game. Mm-hmm. So, and this is the game we're playing now.
Yeah, here we go.
And I'm so glad you're here. This is wonderful. Mm-hmm. So the last question I'm going to ask you, and then I'm going to actually stop the broadcast.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to put another sign up here. Can you see that? I'm going to get rid of I'm going to get rid of Hillary.
Okay. Come in, we're open, and we got some yellow icons there. I see a handle, a speaker symbol, and what's the top circle? I can't see that one. Anyway.
Well, the thing is, and I was asking everybody else, and I'm asking everybody in the room right now, with your exquisite brain, I want you to guesstimate. I will not knock on your door and go, you were wrong.
Yeah.
When do you think we're going to go back, and will it ever be remotely like the normal we knew before?
So like when in our city, will we start going back to work? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you had to guess.
Yeah, I'm still sticking with September, right? So that was
Okay.
my guess, right? That's
Yeah.
been my guess for the last 6 months or so, I think, right? So I'm still sticking with that
Okay.
guess,
And
right?
what? And what? And why? Oh,
I'm
brother.
thinking that I think just from the vaccine, right? I think the
Yeah.
vaccine will be rolled out enough for people to go back by then. You know.
Brother John is saying 2022.
Okay, that's get a few more months on. Yeah, that could be possible too.
Yeah. The problem is, and I don't know if you've seen this, but people are rising up and they're saying things like, my business is essential. It's essential for me to eat. It's essential for my kids
Yeah,
to, right? So they're getting fed up. And
yeah, they
like
are.
you
Yeah.
and like you said with the kids, they're like, hey, no one I know is sick.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's, and you still have those out there that believe it's a conspiracy, which is completely ludicrous when you have so many people who have perished.
Yeah, yeah.
But I noticed they're not talking about Sweden at all, because what Sweden did was
Mm.
they basically took care of the people who they thought needed to be taken care of and told them, don't go
They
out.
took the plan that all the naysayers thought that should be taken, and it
Yeah.
didn't work out for them as
What
well as they
what
hoped.
what what do they call that? Herd immunity, or is it nerd immunity?
I don't know, something like that.
Something. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So listen, you've
Yeah.
got to come on at least once a week,
Okay.
and we'll have it where we have some of the zanier people. I know you're
I
not
like zany. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If it gets
well.
too serious, then
We'll get Brother John up sometime if you want
Okay,
zany.
that's
That's a whole other level. You'll be laughing. But I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you so much. So,
yeah.
if we were to do a show in the future, what are
Hmm.
some of the topics that you enjoy talking about?
Well, there's the one thing that I could talk about is I'm interested in talking about, which is a bit more businessy, I guess, is around
Sure.
like government debt. That's kind of interesting these days.
Okay. Why don't you
Yeah.
chew on that, and then we'll leave
Yeah.
on that.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
I
No,
think
no.
something's burning, so I gotta go soon.
Really?
Yeah. For the last 5 minutes, I've been the burning.
Go check.
Oh yeah, I really gotta go.
Go check.
Okay.
Go please check.
All right.
Okay.
I gotta say
All right,
goodbye
buddy.
now, Mike. How do I close
Take care.
this thing?
Good luck. I hope
right.
you still have your apartment. Bye-bye.
Thanks, man. Okay, bye now.
You're welcome. Okay, he's gone. How's everybody? You having a great day? Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting the Light Business Chat. We were definitely just flying the friendly skies today. I really appreciate everybody that was in the room today. Thank you so much to Mark, who was our last guest. And also Brian, who I thought brought his A game today. And, Ari, he always knows how to stir the pot just the right amount to make it exciting and fun. And I really hope in the future that he has his own broadcast. Please, every Sunday, I just don't know what time, just the way things are. Please come by, visit, ask, engage, and ask questions. And if you can, and you're a business person, please start broadcasting here on HAPS. It is a wonderful platform that has very OBS controls in it, and it is growing and becoming really mainstream. And I can hardly wait to see where it's headed in the next couple of months. Have a glorious Sunday. And we're going to be on, I think, at 8 o'clock later tonight with Fritz. We'll see how that goes. So I will see you guys later. If you're around, please visit us around 8 o'clock Eastern time. And we're going to be doing another business show. And I have no idea what's going on with that one. But I'm going to be there to support Fritz. And hopefully we'll also see Andy Neal. Have a great day. And anybody who's out there who knows how my buddy Ben Dickey is, buddy, I hope you're okay. And I hope to see you next week. And Brother John and Bronx Viking and Dizzy, I think it's Dizzy. Thank you so much for being here and supporting us, and the other hundreds of people who came in and out of the scope. I appreciate your support, and continue to watch me every morning from 6:30 to 7:30, Monday to Friday. Now on the weekends, it's kind of how I feel. Sometimes I'll do a show today because it was Sunday and I got my wife up early. We actually had a show at 6, and it was wild and fun and a little frustrating. And that is Haps. Take care. Bye-bye.